Trapped by the belief that I'm not good enough, bound by the limitations and the lies that consumed my world, this was me. It wasn't until I took the biggest leap in my life to know and trust the power within. And it was at that moment I made a choice. My past will not define me anymore. Hello, I am Teri Cardula, and I know I am not alone in this. Over the years, I have found that the number one mistake that we make is that we get in the way of our own success story. Yes, I said it. On this show, together we'll tackle limiting beliefs, self-sabotage, getting stuck, fear, doubt, overwhelm, and the imposter syndrome. Join us on this journey designed to transport you beyond your limitations to a world where anything is possible. This is Talking with Teri. Hello, and welcome back to Talking with Teri, where we have powerful conversations to transform your life and your business. And I'm excited here today. One, I can say her name. And Molly Rose Speed is here with us. She's an expert in creating what everyone wants more of. And this is so juicy, folks. Just wait for it. Time freedom. Through her proven methods of excellent intelligent systems, seamless automation, and outsourcing, you'll experience another 10 to 15 hours per week of freedom and flexibility. That to me is just super juicy. Welcome to the show, Molly.
Hey, thanks for having me, Teri. Excited to be here.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's dive in. Bring us up to speed for folks that don't know you yet. How did you get to where you're at today?
Yeah, so I'm a military spouse, had no idea that was heading my way when I met my husband in college. And we moved to a small beach town in Florida, and my career just took a different direction. And I quit corporate America cold turkey and started as a virtual assistant and realized all these hacks on technology and time and execution and training and placing virtual assistants within organizations to help save people time and keep them in what I call their zone of genius. So that's what I do now. And it's been a great ride getting here.
I love it. Okay, so I want to unpack that stuff in just a minute, but I
Yeah.
want to find out what has been your kind of biggest challenge or barrier that you've had to overcome to get to where you're at today.
I think the biggest thing, and for those of you listening, taking any type of leap in life and leaping from corporate America for me was probably the biggest, scariest thing I ever did that had the biggest result in my life. And it took, a good year to actually make that leap and do that, and mental talk and mindset shifts and confidence to believe that I could start my own business and I could take control of my life and have the schedule that I actually want. And that was the biggest transition, biggest thing I've ever overcome. And now I'm practicing doing that, even just client work that I do. If I'm creating jobs for myself that I don't necessarily love and don't serve me, we have the choice to make a difference.
I think that's really important. And I think we've talked about this on here before, is that leap of faith, right? And you want to be smart about it, right? I'm not going to encourage people just to do it willy-nilly. And, as long as you have a strategy, a plan, a way of executing it so that you minimize your risk, right? And when you do that, I mean, it is powerful. And I think that, folks that are listening, and I got to be cautious of this. Like I'm going to actually put a disclaimer on here. Okay. Because just recently I had a good friend reach out to me, and he had said, I'm doing this because I listened to your podcast and I've been listening to your Facebook lives and I've been watching you and following you. And I'm like, oh dear Lord. Okay. No. So my disclaimer is this, leaps of faith are fantastic. And when you are really in alignment and making sure that you've put the foundation down, it's easier when you have that foundation than it is if you just, right.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have capital, or if you have other resources, or if you have a spouse or significant other that can help, reduce the risk, it's really powerful. And again, just listening to yourself and just knowing when its timing is right. On my last podcast, if you didn't catch it, go grab it, because we literally talked about, this piece of saying yes to what means yes and no to me what means no. And I think it's so incredibly powerful. So I agree. Okay. So, taking that leap, again, what would you say, for the listeners listening in about your leap of faith?
I think you just made a really good point, having that foundation when you do it. And that's what took me so long to actually choose to create the life I wanted. And you have to set those parameters in place. Like I was getting married, I was going to have health insurance by the time I
Yeah.
quit. That was a super important thing. And people are doing freelance things and becoming virtual assistants in my world every day, and they don't have that safety net. And that's something we talk about quite a bit. So that was a huge component of it, just making sure I was set up and had the savings and had the motivation to actually show up for myself, right? So
Yeah.
when you run your own business, whatever form that looks like, you have to wake up for you. You're not being delegated to, you're not having someone else do the strategy and you execute like we all do in corporate America. So that's been a huge learning, and it's harder than you think, you know.
So let's talk about this time freedom situation, because I love this. This is totally in
Mm,
alignment with some of the things that I talked about, because I've taken my 25 years of counseling experience, combined it with energy psychology, and then applied the
yes.
principles of quantum physics. So I play in a lot of energy, helping people create more time freedom by utilizing energy tools that doesn't require a lot of effort, right? So I am
Mhm.
all in alignment with this. And I love strategy. You're talking my language here.
Yes.
So, because from your perspective in the, kind of virtual assistant world, which if you do not have a virtual assistant, do not, do not go to, I mean, what is this saying in Monopoly? Do not go past something.
Go. Yeah.
Do not go past go, collect your whatever. Go
Yeah.
now and get a virtual assistant. I'm telling you, it's so valuable. And you probably have some great resources. I know I have some great resources. So reach out to us and let us know, because
Yes.
it is such a, I think, well, let me say this and then I'll let you go into it. I think sometimes we've gotten so used to doing everything our way. It has to be done by ourselves. And, or this Lone Ranger. The first time you let go of that quote need to control it and you outsource it, there is a little bit of front love. Let's be real. There's a little bit of fronting on
Mhm.
it. But once you get that piece, it gives you your life back. And it's the things that you don't want to be doing, that you shouldn't be doing, because it's not in your zone of genius, and somebody else's this is somebody else's zone of genius.
Yes.
And this is so yummy. Okay. It's a win, 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 win all over the place. So yeah. So tell me about this concept of time freedom, and how do you engage and create more of that?
Yeah. So I'd love to point out the feeling that you bring up when you do outsource. I bet many of us have used Instacart and someone's doing your grocery shopping for you, or Uber Eats and someone's delivering that food that we used to go get, or your cleaning lady, your snow removal. I want to broaden the term virtual assistant as just outsourcing things in your life that you probably shouldn't be doing, whether it's personal tasks like the ones I just mentioned, or professional tasks where you're truly running your business and you wear 5 hats all of a sudden and you created this job for yourself that you don't want. And then you need to actually get a business assistant, more traditional virtual assistant than we know. So there's personal assistants that can certainly take so much time off your plate. We have assistants that sign their clients' daughters up for dance and make sure the tutu's ordered and the schedule's all put together, or their travel booking, and just little things that just bog you down so that you can show up for that dance recital or that soccer game for a child, or a really important meeting in Arizona, or whatever it is. I think that stuff's very important to recognize and realize.
Yes, thank you for saying that, because I sometimes will put virtual assistants just in the business category, but you're right, it can be anything and everything in between of that as
Mhm.
well. And
Mhm.
it does. And I think sometimes when you're working with people, do you find this to be true? That a big block for some people going and getting a virtual assistant is about the money.
Yeah.
What do you say about that? Because I know what I say about it, but I'm curious to hear how you can shed some light onto that.
Yeah, sure. And I'm interested in your thoughts as well. So when we're talking about in the business world, billable hour, right? If you can go earn $100 an hour and pay a virtual assistant 20, you should do that all day long. Not
Yes.
only are you earning the money, but they're, like you said, in their zone of genius, they're going to execute way faster than you, way more organized. They're so good at what we do, the type A people of the world, the helpers. And then you can be out doing business meetings or coaching or whatever your product or service is. That's where your focus should be. The why that you started your business, that's where you should
Yeah.
be. So I think that's a really important call out. And then on the personal side, and even in your business, I think time is our most valuable asset. So to me, paying $25 an hour, 20, whatever it is, to someone to take something off my plate so that I can show up for a friend or be there, like I said, for a kid's function or whatever it is in your world that's important to you, that's so worth it. That's the
Yes.
cost of lunch.
I love this. I love this. And that's beautiful. That's what I say. And I want to go back to this because I want to hone in what you said because it was so brilliant. Is what is your cost to you? Okay. So if you pay, what is your hourly rate that you would be paying yourself? Okay. And I want everyone to do this. Like if you do not have a virtual assistant, I can't imagine a business that doesn't couldn't benefit from this. Okay. Or a person actually from this. And so I want you to think about what do you if you take your and for a lot of entrepreneurs we don't have kind of a salary or we don't have necessarily that piece of it but take your find out what your hourly wage is. You just take that from what you earned last year, you divide it by 12 and or
Mhm.
250, was it 2850 I think is the 40-hour
Yeah.
work week. So figure that out and then that is your hourly wage right now. And then, can you find somebody that's less expensive than that? Because here's the thing, when you're in your zone of genius, like Molly said, was, you can actually be doing more of your connections, collaborations. I mean, just think about the time saving, right? And if you're a zone of genius in sales or marketing, you can do more of that. Or if you're a speaker and you're out there speaking more, even if you spoke one more time a month, for 3 hours or whatever that looks like, and you could outsource the rest. I mean, I'm telling you, it is so, um, it's not as expensive as we think. And it actually helps us in so many different ways. Because from an energetic perspective, for example, many of you have heard me say this before, but I love the book, The E Myth Revisited. And he talks about
Mhm.
the flow chart, right? And I, for years and years, kept this flow chart and in my office, and I wrote down all the hats, all the responsibilities, all the positions that I was doing, and I was doing all of them. Okay, I'm just saying, I was doing 7, and it looked like it too because I was scattered and all over the place. And people are like, "Who are you?" I'm like, "I don't know. I don't sleep. I don't eat. I don't drink. I don't blah." But I sat and I like came up with that, and then I just backfilled. I'm like, "What is the thing that drives me bonkers? What is the thing that I resist?" And for me, it was bookkeeping. I'm sorry for all the bookkeepers out there. I'm like, it just wasn't for me. And so I'm like, every time I do, and I was so bad at this. I would actually like wait 3 months to invoice or to do my accounts receivables. And like, I'm serious. And I was like, oh, I have to do that thing. And so I was like, that's the first thing that went right. And once I got that off my plate, I was like, oh, this feels good. And then I added the next and added the next. And I was like, okay, now I'm only in the thing that makes me brings joy to me.
Mhm.
And you can be more productive. It's just so yummy. It's so powerful.
It is.
And yeah, and then can you find someone that you can hire out for that piece? Now, do you have, because the next question that I usually get, but I don't know what I would hire them for. Do you have a
Mhm.
great like task list skill that's like, it's like this master task list that has like everything that you could possibly ask for
Yes, and I have an
created?
exercise that it's the first thing I put people through, and
Good.
anyone's welcome to download it. Outsourceresource.co is the link, but it's an exercise and you can do it on your own. Have a notebook next to your desk and start writing down, or your kitchen counter, writing down everything that you do, everything that you possibly do, and then come back to it in 2 weeks or however busy you are. Sometimes we can get this done in a week, and start circling the things that you physically have to do. You have to call your mom, you have to show up and speak, you have to do that coaching meeting with a client, whatever it is that and then you can start to realize all the things that you can take off of your plate. In addition to that, I have a huge list of common things that are outsourced. So there's that to get you
I
started.
love it. I love
But
it because I
that's,
think that's a barrier for people. And so I
yes.
love that strategy. Okay. This is so yummy doing this task, of just really identifying what is it that you do? what are the time sucks of your life, right?
Mhm.
And I am certain, based on what you've shared, Molly, that there's someone that will fit that and actually enjoy it. Like absolutely, absolutely enjoys it, brings joy to them. Okay. So don't be a joy stealer for somebody else. Okay.
Yeah, it's crazy, many of your audience members probably think, "Oh, scheduling and doing social media posting or
Mhm.
ordering groceries or whatever the task is, no one's gonna wanna do that. I'm embarrassed to even ask." But there are so many people in my community and that I network with that are like, "I love it when a client sends me a task list on a Monday," and they're like, "Run through it, it's very detailed, and I knock it out." It brings them so much joy. So it's great.
I love it. And by doing this, I mean, ultimately, like you said, that this gives time freedom, right?
Mhm.
And there's such power in that. Whether you're an entrepreneur, a business owner, a business executive, okay, these are things. And I have two clients right now, and they are in the corporate world, and they the company does not pay for it; they pay for it themselves, okay,
Yeah.
because they are more productive and more efficient at their job with this additional resource. And so
Mhm.
you don't have to be an entrepreneur, right? Like you can honestly, I feel like we get to create the rules. What is going to be the biggest and highest contribution to us? And if this means outsourcing some of these things that do not bring you joy, outsource them, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I
You
love it.
can't. Yeah.
So when you have this, so creating this time freedom is important. What would you share, um, about this time freedom, and what does this open up for people?
I I think I said this earlier. I think, money is an important commodity, right? People always want more and more money, but then when you get all of the money, it doesn't, there's a point where it doesn't serve you anymore, and you're done. You're like, I'm not happy. So the next thing, or what I think should come first, is really your time. And I think that when we look at the end of our life, or if you want me to shorten it up for you, if you just look at your Google Calendar, your Outlook calendar, at all your meetings, that is literally how you're spending your life. And it's going to compound and add up. And that we're going to be 85 years old in a rocker looking back. And this is what we did. So looking at that micro now and seeing how you're actually doing it, it's a great place to go to actually see how you're spending your time. And are you enjoying it? Are you, take yourself third person and look at that schedule and be like, would I want that schedule? Because that's what you're actually doing for yourself. And that's even another great place to start looking at where you can start getting some of these things off of your plate, or meetings that don't serve you, or schedules, or, is that gym class that you always wanted to go to fallen off your schedule? It's almost January, all these things that we have intentions for, but we don't actually do. I think you really have to assess and look at yourself and your life.
I think this is a great reminder, because as we schedule out, you know, into the new year, and what is it that we are committing to? I said this on one of my Facebook lives. I said, what's your word of the year? What
Mm.
is your intention? What's your word of the year, right? And so based on that answer, you know, you can start formulating and creating that, right? And so if that means I would like to have more time to exercise, more time to meditate, more time to spend with family, more time to whatever that is, how something has to get taken off your plate to add more. We just can't keep adding more and more and more and more. We
Mhm.
have to be able to say no. We have to be willing to take stuff off our plate as well. And I think this is brilliant. What you're talking about is that this is like giving us permission to take stuff off our plate that is not serving, or it's heavy, or it's not right. And so, looking at what is your intentions, what is your targets for the year, what can go away with, what can you add to that brings you more joy, more peace, whatever that is for you. And that, I think, creates this whole body experience. This creates this whole mind, body, spirit connection that gives us freedom to do the things that we love. Because I don't know about anybody else, but 2021, even 2019, let's be real, the last 3 years has not been the best for most people, right? And I think it's time, like I just know and trust, based on the energy and based on everything else, like 2022 is going to be a killer year for everybody in every profession and every aspect of on our planet. And I feel like we get to capitalize on this. And so I think we can be strategic, and be mindful of how do we go forward and really create a powerful, powerful new year by some of the things that you've already suggested. And so, kind of as we wrap up here, what tip, tool, strategy beyond what you've already shared would be a contribution to the listeners that are listening in today?
I reflected on this before we talked, and we've gone through a lot of it, but I think if you think about outsourcing your life and using the message of for a better relationship and to show it fully, you will change the outlook you have on actually outsourcing. A word you said just now is permission, giving yourself permission. I have an amazing mentor, and her big message is permission granted. And I think the last person we usually help is ourselves in common ground. I think most people would agree with that. And I think you are allowed to give yourself permission to take these things, to help yourself, to have a bigger life, to take these things off of your plate. And I think any tip I have for anyone, we're at the end of the holidays, take some time to reflect and actually think about, to your point, what you want out of 2022 and how you can make this life better for you. And I truly believe having support and outsourcing the things that don't serve you and the things you don't want to do is a key component to that.
Yes. And I'd say get creative, right? Because there's a book by Tim Ferriss that he wrote, the 4 Hour Work Week. And I remember somewhere in that book, he talked about even outsourcing his dating experience, which is really funny.
Oh, yeah.
But he actually had his assistant say, okay, these are the qualities that I like. These are the, blah, 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 please. And so he actually had his dates selected by his virtual assistant.
Pre-screen.
And I'm talking about, I was like, I would have never thought about that. Right. But and I think in that book, he talks about where to push the envelope on outsourcing. And so it's a great place to think about, where can I let go of and, create more. And again, it's about living a more fuller life.
Mm-hmm.
And, and if this is, and I'm going to say this because if it brings you joy to do the dishes, to fold laundry, to, check your inbox, if that brings you joy, that stays on your list. Okay. Let's be real.
Great
Again,
point.
it's about the feeling and joy of it. But for those that it doesn't bring joy to, that's what we're talking about. The ones that's like, I don't want to do this. That's when it's so powerful to outsource and, have support around doing the things that only you feel like in your zone of genius doing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And
Such
dipping your toe and trying it will snowball. I say this all the time. Just give it a go.
It does, and you can play it safe. And I'm going to say this: when I first started doing stuff, I always played it safe first.
Mhm.
I was like, okay, I'm going to hire someone for 10 hours a week, and then that 10 hours went into 15, quickly went into 20, quickly went into 30, and then up to 40. And now I have, multiple assistants, multiple team members on both companies. I went from
Mm.
2 team members from my last company, this last company, to 7 in 1 year. And so it does snowball. And I was like, how in the world was I doing that? And I'm looking for an assistant, again, another support staff, because I'm like, okay, there's still so much stuff, right? So
Absolutely.
yummy, so powerful. And you're right. You can start small. You can play it safe. And if it doesn't work out, right? No harm, no foul, right?
Yep.
And you just go back to you doing everything.
Exactly. Start. Yep. Baby steps.
But it's amazing how I always say, there's a great quote that says, empty yourself and the universe will fill you. So the more that you get off your plate, the more the universe, God, spirit, angels wants to fill you with more of the work that is in your zone of genius. So just knowing and trusting and having faith that when you get rid of this stuff, more of the opportunities, the possibilities are going to show up for you. And it's so beautiful. And it creates a really ongoing process. Absolutely love it.
Couldn't have said that better.
Molly, it's been absolutely a delight to have you here. Where can people connect with you?
So Molly Rose Speed, I'm on all social channels, have my own website. And if you're interested in hiring a virtual assistant, my company is virtualassistantmanagement.com.
I'm going to invite everyone, go take a look and play, again, let it be easier. Let's create more ease in our life. You deserve this, and everyone else, that you hire and bring on is going to be, it's going to be a win-win. So check out our information. And if we can be of support in any other way, please let us know, reach out to us. And thank you. Thank you, Molly, for being here and sharing. And this is such perfect timing for the
Yes.
new year and just new ideas of, how do we gain back time freedom, which we all want more of. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I am so grateful that you joined me for this episode. If you've enjoyed this, then there's just one thing that I would like you to do. Click to subscribe and leave me a rating and review. As my way to thank you, let's connect for a free consultation. Just reach out to me at talkingwithteri, that's TERI.com, to book your time.